Monday, Chov Beis Oder, and we are in Sefer HaMamorim Teres Menachem. Rather, Teres Menachem Sefer HaMamorim, Tavshin Yud Aleph, Tavshin Yud Beis. We are in the middle of the Maimer Vhishalachti B'Seichechem of Shabbos Pashas B'Chukoisai Mevochem Ched Sivan Tavshin Yud Aleph, and we are on page Pei Daled at the top. The third line from the top, by the full stop. In brief summary, the Rebbe explained that the Torah, in the beginning of Pashas B'Chukoisai, enumerates a number of promises that Hashem gives to the Bnei Yisrael if they will follow in His chukim, in His statutes, and keep His mitzvahs. Among the promises are the following two. Vhishalachti b'sechechem, I will walk among you, Hashem says. And I will lead you upright. And the Rebbe explained that these two promises are time dependent. These are specifically related to when Mashiach will come, unlike the others that can happen and be fulfilled even before Mashiach comes, if the circumstances are right and if the conditions are met. So the Rebbe says, what's so special about these two promises? The Rebbe began to explain by stressing the fact that it says Vhishalachti in a hispoel form rather than Vhishalachti. And the Rebbe said that this refers to a dual walking, two things. First of all, a continuous walking, and also dual walking from above to below and from below to above. Similarly, when it says kememius, with two mems, it refers to two types of uprightness. What is this? So the Rebbe began by explaining by prefacing the difference between the two ways of walking, from above to below. That's way one, mode one. And from below to above. That each one has a quality that the other one doesn't possess. In other words, the differences between the two and the quality that each one possesses over the other. And the Rebbe began by giving an example from two people who, one is standing at the top of the mountain, one is standing at the bottom of the mountain. The connection between the two, they can meet in one of two ways. Either that the one from above descends to the one below, or the one below goes up to the one above. What is the difference? So that I've explained that when the one below needs to ascend to the one above, you need a number of conditions. Number one, the Rebbe said, you need to know the ways and the paths that lead up to the top of the mountain. Number two, you need to have a lot of strength to be able to climb up the mountain. Number three, you need to have proper clothing to do the climb. And proper clothing means not only that you shouldn't have clothing that would hinder you from climbing the mountain, but the clothing has to be such that it'll assist you in climbing the mountain. That's where we're up to. So we're up to Vinyan B'Avedas Adam. Page Pei Daled at the top, by the full stop. Vinyan B'Avedas Adam. What is this idea in man's service to Hashem? Hine Ksiv, it says in the Pasuk in Tehillim, David HaMelech says, Mi Ya'ala B'Haravaya Gomer. Who goes up? Who can go up to the mountain of Hashem? And the Pasuk continues, who will stand in Hashem's holy place, in the place where Hashem's presence of holiness is. So David HaMelech, when he says, who can climb up, who can go up Hashem's mountain, he says that there needs to be certain conditions, right? So in other words, the idea that Rebbe is saying is that the idea of climbing the mountain is something which is referred to in Tehillim by David HaMelech, so it's a method of serving Hashem. It's got to do with serving Hashem. In order to climb up the mountain, we need a number of conditions. First of all, he should know the paths that lead up the mountain. That there is derech havaya, the path of Hashem, right? what is the path of Hashem. Generally, that's the idea of Torah and mitzvahs, fulfilling Torah and mitzvahs. But in the paths, you have to know the appropriate paths. In other words, it means to say there is an appropriate way, and conversely, an inappropriate way, of fulfilling Hashem's Torah, fulfilling Hashem's mitzvahs, and learning Hashem's Torah. Hainu, what does that mean? Shelimud ha-Torah yiyeh k'deboy. That the learning of one's Torah should be appropriately. And he should learn Torah for the sake of learning Torah and not for any ulterior motives. And the Rebbe brings here a Gemara. The Gemara says in Shabbos that in Yeshaya there's a pasuk that says V'hoya emunas itecha chaysin yeshuais I think bina v'das yiras Hashem hi yitzorei. I think that's the pasuk. And the faith of your time will be the armor of salvation, wisdom and knowledge. The fear of God is his treasure. That's what the pasuk says. So the Gemara says, what does the pasuk mean by this pasuk? What does the pasuk mean with these words? So the Gemara says, Emunas Seder Zroim. So there are 6 terms that the pasuk uses. Emunas, Itecha, Chesen, Yeshuis. I think it's Bina Vadas or Chachma Vadas. But it's 6 terms. So the Gemara says each one of these terms refers to another Seder of the Mishnah. Another section of the Mishnah. The Mishnah has 6 sections. Zroim, Moed, Noshim, Nezik, and Kachim Talis. Right? So each one of these words is related to a specific Seder, a specific section of the Mishnah. And the pasuk concludes, Yiras Hashem hi yitzorei, that the fear of God is his treasure. Meaning to say that even if you learn the entire Torah, but it has to be learned in a way of what? Yiras Hashem hi yitzorei has to be learned with Yiras Shamayim, with the fear of heaven. Sheha'ikir hu, again, inside. What does the pasuk mean when it says these terms? Emunas, as I say, that Zroim, Emunas refers to the order, to the section of the Mishnah known as Zroim, Chulu, etc., meaning to say each one of the following terms refers to each of the following 5 sections of the Mishnah. Nevertheless, even if you learn the entire Mishnah, Yiras Havaya Yitzorei, which is the conclusion of the pasuk, the fear of God is your treasure. What does that mean? Sheha'ikiru Yiras Hashem, that the main aspect that is necessary in learning of Torah is the fear of God. And as the Gemara continues there in Shabbos to say that when the person is brought in for his judgment after 120, after living his life in this world, the Bezdin Shemaila says to him, the heavenly court says to him, asks him a number of questions. Question number 1: did you deal in your commercial dealings faithfully? Did you designate times to learn Torah, etc.? And even if he answers on all these questions that he did, the Gemara concludes, if he had the fear of God, Kabbalah Soilas that have terms here, fine, then they open the gates of heaven for him, and if not, the other way around. And the Gemara concludes, Mashal Adam. The Gemara brings a parable of a man, Sha'amar l'shluchai, who said to his emissary, Haleli kur chitim la'aliyah, bring up to me a kur, a certain measure of wheat, to the attic. Holach v'her laloi. So the shliach, the emissary, the messenger went, and he brought the man the wheat. Omar loi, so the person who sent him says to him, to the shliach, to the messenger, Irbafta b'hem kav chumtin. Did you mix into this wheat a small measure of chumtin? Chumtin is a sandy type of soil, which is salty. It's basically a preservative. Did you mix in a kav of chumtin, of this preservative, into the wheat? Amar Loi, the emissary says to him, this is all part of the parable, Lav, I didn't. Amar Loi, he said, Mutavim Loi Elisa. It's better that you would have brought the wheat altogether. Because thank you for doing the job, but it's meaningless. Because it's going to rot away. It's better off if you would have left it where it was and not bothered at all. What's kav chumtin? The kav chumtin pirushai, this measure of chumtin, the meaning of chumtin is eretz melecha, a salty type of earth, hameshameres asaperes milahatlia, that guards the fruits from becoming, from rotting, from becoming infested with worms. Pirush Rashi, as Rashi explains, it means it's a preservative. Dahainu, what is this kav chumtin? What is chumtin? She'ein lebazet tam vavon avasaga. In avodas Hashem, it means serving Hashem in a way in which he has no gishmak, he has no understanding, he has no comprehension. What is it? What's the bottom line? It's Kabbalah's oil. Kabbalah's oil is the preservative. Yiras Hashem is the preservative that preserves that the Torah should be learned appropriately. And we shouldn't have this worm. But sometimes when we learn, if you start learning not for the appropriate motives, but for self-aggrandizement or for the wrong reasons, so then it's better. It could be dangerous. The Torah could be counterproductive. What is this kav chumtin? Shezehu inyan ayir v'kabbalas oil is the idea of fear of Hashem and accepting the yoke of heaven. Certainly, a person shouldn't learn in a way that he learns, and he doesn't fulfill what he learns. In other words, talking the talk but not walking the walk, so to speak. Even more so. Similarly, the Rebbe says, somebody who learns for the purposes of doing the opposite, for antagonistic purposes, meaning to say what he's learning in order to know how to counteract that which he learns. She'olav Amar Kosov, concerning such an individual, the pasuk says, "V'lo Rosha Omar," and to the wicked one Hashem says, Amalekim, God says, "Malach alasaper chukai." Where do you come to speaking of my statutes? Why? Because someone like that learns Torah. Someone who doesn't fulfill the Torah, it's so to speak, it's an invasion of the Torah. If a person is not meritorious, the Torah could become the opposite of the elixir of life. The pasuk says, the Gemara says, it says in the pasuk, "V'zois Torah." When we look at Torah, we all say, "V'zois Torah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael." This is the Torah that Moshe put before the Jewish people. So the Gemara says, what does it mean? V'zois Torah asher sam Moshe. He put. Could have said V'zois Torah asher nasan Moshe, right? What does it mean? Sam. Sam is sin mem, but sam could also be sam. Sounds similar to what? Sam, samach mem. Sam means what? Poison. Or elixir. So the Gemara says, V'zeis ha-Torah asher sam. Torah is sam. Torah is an elixir. Zocha, if he's meritorious, nasa le'sam chayim, it becomes an elixir of life. Loi zocha, if a person is not meritorious, chas v'sholem, then it becomes sam of the opposite of life. So we see that Torah, if it's misused and mishandled, could be detrimental. And if a person doesn't learn it appropriately, so therefore it becomes the sam, the elixir, which is opposite of life. And if a person learns inappropriately, he adds life into the shell, meaning to say that those elements that conceal over Kedusha, that conceal Kedusha, the Torah gives them life. The Torah that a person learns inappropriately gives life to the opposite of Kedusha. As the Alter Rebbe says in the Chasam Torah. He says, L'fisha, temporarily, because when a person does tshuva, he lifts up that Torah together with it. He lifts up the Torah that he learned inappropriately. That is how it is concerning Torah. Similarly, concerning the fulfillment of mitzvahs, that it has to be specifically appropriately. You have to fulfill mitzvahs appropriately. In other words, there's a way of fulfilling the mitzvah and fulfilling the mitzvah inappropriately. And if you fulfill it inappropriately, it could be counterproductive. As the Talmud says in Kiddushin, there's a person who can fulfill the mitzvah of honoring their father and their mother, and nevertheless he inherits Gehinnom, the opposite of Gan Eden. Why? Because he honors them, but he through honoring them, he actually shames them. The Gemara says over there that there was a gentleman, you might know him, his name was Doma ben Nesina. Doma ben Nesina was not a Jewish person. He's famously known that he was rewarded. He had his father with the stones for the cheshen. His father was sleeping and the key was under the pillow. He didn't want to wake him, so the chachamim left. He was rewarded eventually that a Pora Aduma was born to him, and they bought it from him, and etc. etc. So one of the stories the Gemara says over there is that one time he was sitting with the nobleman of Rome, and his mother came and she spat at him and she embarrassed him, and he didn't shame her, he didn't react, he accepted it all. So continuing that, the Gemara says that there's someone who could be mechabed his father and his mother, could honor his father and mother, and Yerush Gehinim, and there's someone who could be modestly honoring the father and mother, and he could be Yerush Gan Eden. So he says like this: someone could prepare beautiful birds, beautiful dish for his father, and the father turns to him and says, "Where did you get such a wonderful dish?" And he says, "It's none of your business. Eat, and don't mix where you don't need to." Something along those lines, meaning to say that he honors his father through this wonderful meal, but with tzoros ayin, with contempt. So it's counterproductive. On the other hand, you can serve a parent a modest meal, but if you do it with the right approach, with the right attitude, that's kibbud avayim. So we see that also in the fulfillment of mitzvahs, there is an appropriate way of fulfilling mitzvah. And as a result of that, you're Yerush Gan Eden. And chas v'chalil, if you do the mitzvah in the wrong way, you're Yerush, you inherit the opposite of Gan Eden. V'chein, hu b'kiyim shara mitzvahs, shekiyum tzarech lizkir deboi, v'gam lishma l'lei pniyas. And so too, concerning all the other mitzvahs, that one has to fulfill mitzvahs appropriately. Number one. Number two, for the purpose of fulfilling the mitzvahs, without any ulterior motives, similar to the way the Rebbe described it in the Torah. So this is point number one.